What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of the Loper Show. And I was just told it's a whole fistful. Speaking of which, I brought you a whole fistful of fun today. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my best friends and one of the greatest to ever do it in the welterweight division of the UFC. Ladies and gentlemen, the immortal Matt Brown.
What's up, my man?
Dude, glad you made it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
It's kind of cool. Moving up in the world over here,
Moving up, man.
I kind of want to start the episode by, kind of updating people on what you've been doing. You know, you retired. Was it just about a year ago?
I mean, technically, I retired like over the summer, but haven't fought for a year and a half now. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll meet in the middle on that one.
Yeah.
What is Matt Brown's life outside of the octagon since you walked away?
Main thing has been the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. So started turning into an actual business. Right? Not that it wasn't before, but it was more. It wasn't getting the attention it deserved. So I just put a lot of work into that, making it much more professional and like a more of a well-oiled machine. And it's running great now. Things are moving along. So we're working on, hopefully in a perfect world, we'll have a second location 2025. That's been the main thing because it was kind of the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, sure.
And then, I got tons of side projects I'm working on. Like, I, did a couple house flips. Got one going right now.
Look at you over here, like you're working for Discovery Channel all of a sudden. Yeah.
Nice.
Home and Garden Network, Matt
Brown. I'm lucky that I have a very good network of people.
Yeah. So when you do the flips, like, how involved are you? Are you out there like with hammers?
Nah.
I knew it.
I mean, I could like I mean, I can do carpentry and shit like easy, but
Yeah.
I just don't need to. It's like for me, it's a little different, right? So the gym and helping people like that is like very fulfilling.
Sure.
and a great way to make money. Something like flipping a house doesn't actually get
your juices going.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
Like it's a money thing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I see a project and it's just numbers on paper, right? You can do it on a napkin and you're just like, okay, well, I have $50,000 sitting in the bank and it could be $80,000. So yeah, do it.
Now, are you doing flips and Air B&B?
Yeah, well, I own 2 Airbnbs, yeah.
Can we talk about the one in Gatlinburg?
Yeah, of course. Did you stay at it yet?
Favorite thing? No, not yet. But now that I'm romantically involved, I may. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so Matt Brown, one of the toughest dudes to ever do it in the octagon, owns the quaintest, most petite and darling, romantic, if I will.
It's romantic.
Air B&B in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yeah,
I can't even do it without laughing. I mean, but in all fairness, it's a brilliant move. I mean, people go there, they go for honeymoons. And
that's what they call it, is a honeymoon cabin.
It really is.
Yeah.
And so, like, what's inside your honeymoon cabin?
It's on a street called Cupid's Way. It's called Cupid's Hideaway.
Hell yeah.
There's like a heart-shaped tub.
Have you taken a bath in that yet?
No, it didn't work when I went down there, actually. Yeah, so I had to fix it. And then I was like, after you work on something, you're like, all right, I don't feel like fucking with this now. But
yeah,
feel you. Yeah, it's got a hot tub back there. They said it's quaint. It's nice. It's just a studio. So, that has a real nice bed and everything. It's just big enough for 2 people. And yeah, man, it's a beautiful little thing. It's just like what I was saying with the real estate. Like you just see numbers on paper, It's like, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't get my juices flowing.
Wait. So was that your idea though, to do this really romantic?
No, I was searching.
Cabin, or it was already in?
No, yeah, I was searching for. I was searching for Airbnb in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
And it came up on the market at a solid price, and I was like, dude, that's perfect.
See, a lot of people would think it would be more of like a Lamb of God themed.
Yeah,
Airbnb.
I'm working on that one too. I mean, we can change the decor overnight.
Dude, that's sick. So, all right, so you're doing that. You're doing the gym, which, I got to give you props on the gym, man. Like I've been with you since, the early days of the gym, and, the way that it's changed, and the way that I think you're so meticulous in everything that you do, the people that don't know you personally. and the way that you've changed it. And it's like you're never satisfied. And I always love that about you, because it's like, when you see something that you could make better, you always do. Absolutely. And the gym has evolved so much over the years, and the people that you have there are, man, those are great people.
Yeah,
and,
we have phenomenal staff.
Mark the Hammer Coleman hanging around all the time now. I mean, the guy's sober and doing well. I mean, that's awesome.
I mean, he was hanging around when he was not sober too.
I think you probably like this version a little bit better, though.
Yeah, the only thing about Mark is he's the only dude I've ever met who's crazier sober than drunk. Like when
his social media is out of control.
It's out of control, bro. Like when he was drunk, like he was predictable. Right.
Well, because when you're getting in a little bit of trouble, you have to, downplay things a little bit.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have to do anything like that. Exactly. He can be as loud. He can be as Coleman as he wants to be.
And he is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he out Liver King the Liver King.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, the Liver King was killing it on social media. Then Coleman came along.
Yeah.
And just, absolutely owned it. But I mean, Josh, one of your students over there, who's just a heartbeat away from the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He'll probably be fighting for the LFA. Well, I mean, he is already fighting for the LFA, but they just offered him a title contender match for the LFA, which, like you said, the LFA is a feeder to the UFC. If you perform well in the LFA, like, you're pretty much guaranteed a spot in the UFC. So yeah, like you said, he's knocking on the door. And then we have Josiah, who's, he kind of goes halfway my gym and halfway Grove City Jiu-Jitsu, and which is great people over there too. Dave Freetag, old school, like one of the OGs here in Columbus.
I was actually at the ceremony when Dave got his black belt from Carlson Gracie.
Oh, nice, yeah. And Josiah's probably gonna be on next season of Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, really?
Most likely, it's looking like it.
So when something like that happens, being a veteran of the Ultimate Fighter, like, do you give advice?
Yeah, there's not a lot of advice to give. I said, look, the main thing was look, be on weight. Because
right.
The fights happen every 3 days. You could be any of those guys anytime, and you might fight 4 or 5 times in those 6 weeks. So.
But the format's a little different now, right? Do they still live in the same house?
I don't know how they've changed it because I don't really watch it, but my season was unique though, right? That was the first one where you had to fight to get on.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the only unique thing. I don't know. Like, I don't watch the show that much.
Your season was one of my favorites. I mean, even before we were friends, the whole chewing tobacco thing was just absolutely legendary.
That's what everybody remembers about
it's legendary.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, so a lot of people don't know like the whole actual backstory of that. So they edited it for the TV, obviously, and they didn't do any like poor editing or anything, but it makes it look like, because that didn't air until like the 3rd or the 4th episode, which is 3 or 4 weeks into the show, right? Because it shows every week. But that actually happened like the first like 4 or 5 days we were there.
Oh, is that right? Let's tell people what we're talking about.
Well, the Ultimate Fighter, yeah.
Yeah, but like what happened on the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah. Well, he just pranked me, quote unquote, by putting lemon juice in my skull, my chewing tobacco. And it's like, it was one of those things where, like, again, like 4 or 5 days into the show, I'm like, there's 16 guys, so 15 other guys, and then one counting me, and living in this house. We're all fighters here for the same thing. And I'm going in with the mentality of like, dude, I'm not going to be the fucking sheep,
right,
and amongst these lions, right? So some dude does a prank, which is silly, and I didn't even really care. Like, my friends did it to me all the time when I got back, like just fucking around, and we laughed about it.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I gotta let everybody know that I'm not going to be that guy. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot of pressure too. You're on TV.
You don't really realize you're on TV, though, to be honest. I mean, there's cameras
as it's
everywhere.
Happening.
When it's happening.
I'm sure after the first day, you kind of forget about it a little bit,
you
right?
forget the camera's even there.
Yeah.
So, like, I wasn't even thinking about that. But, to me, the pressure was like, I've been to jail a bunch of times, and like, I know, like, living in a small area with a bunch of dudes where it's like, when they see an opportunity, they're like, if you show that you're going to be the sheep, they're going to fucking eat you alive, right?
I love that you just compared The Ultimate Fighter to jail. That's great.
It is very much like jail, to be honest.
That's hilarious.
It's very much like jail. The only difference is like in jail, like you get letters. Like we weren't even allowed to have letters.
So jail's better than The Ultimate Fighter, guys.
There is better things about it. We weren't allowed to have books.
Really?
No, only the Bible. Just religious stuff.
And what's that about?
Religious book. Well, it's not good TV to show a dude reading a book, right?
That's hilarious, man. Wow.
Yeah, that's what everybody would do. They'd sit around and read books, and no one would communicate. I mean, we did have like a pool table and ping pong, but like it was literally like jail. I mean, it's a nicer house, but
it was a mansion in Vegas, but
yeah,
pretty much.
I mean, it wasn't even a mansion. Like this was like a regular house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was big, but it was like
it's just the way they film it. It just looks better than it is.
In my season, it wasn't a mansion.
Okay, all right.
There's other seasons.
Outside of the skull, like what was the most memorable moment from being on the show?
To be honest, the most memorable for me outside of my own fights and everything. A lot of people probably don't even remember it, but when Matt Riddle knocked out this dude named Dan. His last name's escaping me right now.
I know
but
what you're talking about. Yes.
When he knocked him out, so the whole studio. This was the fight to get on the show. And the whole studio is small, right? It's just a cage, maybe 1,500 square foot of mats and some weights, and it's very quiet in there, right? I mean, on this day there was our fight to get on, so there's 32 fighters, there's the production, then there's just the UFC staff.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of crammed in there. But it's pretty quiet because like we don't all know each other that well or anything. And then Matt knocked this kid out and like the whole place just got, like you could hear a pin drop except for Matt Riddle go, right? Everybody was like, holy shit, because you could hear his jaw pop.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, like through the whole place. Like you heard the echo. I mean, the way his jaw snapped and he's just laying there.
That's fucking crazy.
And then you just see Matt Riddle go,
and that's the moment when you realize you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, kind of realize that like, oh shit, like we're in the big leagues now.
Yeah. Because that's got to be kind of wild going from like, because actually your story's so unique. I was going to say going from like the minor leagues.
I had 15 amateur fights, but I did it in 1 year.
Right.
Yeah, I just did it 1 year and then I was pro.
But most people don't do it that way.
No, I wouldn't suggest.
Do you feel like you're fast tracked a little too quickly, or? Yeah,
I mean, I kind of had to though because I didn't start training until I was 24.
Yeah.
So like, I just didn't really have a choice, Oh, excuse me.
Nice out.
You can edit that out. I'm a little different too because I was, before I got in the UFC, or before I started fighting, I was, drinking and partying and wasting my life away. And when I changed who I was and my trajectory in life, I mean, I was like, I'm just going balls in, balls deep. I'm not doing this 90%. Like I'm going 100%. So.
And what was that day? Like, what were you doing that day when you decided that?
So that day, I still remember that exact day. So I was looking for a gym. I'd moved here to Columbus. My brothers lived here. So it gave me an opportunity to get away from the people that I'd been around for many years that were clearly not helping me get anywhere in my life.
Sure, yeah.
And I decided that I wanted to become a fighter. So I found a gym. It was Bo Kimley's Martial Arts out in Hilliard next to the movie theater.
Yep.
But the people that were using the gym was actually the Hammer House. Coleman wasn't there that day, but
so it was like Wes.
But it was the Hammer House. It wasn't Wes or like none of the big guys. Like it was the guys that kind of hang around.
Gotcha. All right.
But there was 3 guys there that were very high level pros. One of them was Dorian.
Mm-hmm. Dorian
First
Price.
day I walked into a gym. Still my one of my best friends today and been my coach ever since. And then 2 of them were guys you probably never heard of, but they were knocking on the door of the UFC back then. And they beat the living hell out of me, right? That's just the way we trained back then. We didn't know like what a drill was.
Right.
That word never came up. We're like,
so you hadn't trained at all before this?
No.
Wow.
No. So I go in and had a good session, and I remember the one guy like triangled me like 20 times. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And we're sparring balls out hard. And I just remember walking out there, and I was like, I'm gonna succeed at this, or I'm gonna die trying. And that's all there is to it. I remember that day very well. The way that they beat the hell out of me in any way that they want. Because see, I'd fought before, hadn't trained yet, but I'd fought, and I won, I think 4 of them.
Wait, so you had a fight and you hadn't even trained yet?
Yeah, I had 4 fights without training. Yeah, it was amazing. 3 or 4. Well, 2 in one night, so 4 total. And then I finally lost, got the shit beat out of me in a fight, and that's where I decided I need to actually go to a gym, right? But when you fight and you lose, somewhere in the back of your head there's always like, I could have done this, or I could have done that. This is all I needed to do, right?
Right.
But when I went into the training room, I get that next chance always, right? They'd beat me up around. I'd be like, okay, this is all I need to do. And you go back and you do it. He still beats the shit out of you, right? Or you get triangled, and then you're like, dude, if I just, do this, I'll get it, right? And then he triangles you again, right? So then I realized, like, okay, like there's way more skill to this than I realized, and I want to learn it. Like I said, I walked out there and I said, I'm going to give my life to this, and I'm going to succeed, or I'm going to die on the way.
And what was the point that you transitioned over to George Gergel's in Cincinnati?
So that was only a week later, maybe.
Oh, is that right?
Well, not in Cincinnati. He had an affiliate here in Grove City, which is now Grove City BJJ.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because the instructor for one of those pros was an instructor there at Grove City, and he just invited me, because he could see I was a tough guy and I was working hard, and he said, look, just come down to the gym and we'll help you actually learn how to fight.
Yeah.
And so I just went down there, and they were always great to me. They gave me I can't believe they did it, but I don't think they ever charged me a membership. And I just got lucky, man, just being around good people.
And you got to meet eventually Rich Franklin.
Yeah. Like I said, they were an affiliate of Georgia, so George would come in and do seminars every now and then. And so I met up with George, and he invited me down to Cincinnati, so I'd go down there, and then Rich would be down there.
And this is like when Rich was on top of the world.
Yeah,
he was champion at the time.
Yeah, the first time I went to Cincinnati and trained with Rich was actually his. So I don't know if he said he was on top of the world. It was his first session back from losing to Anderson Silva.
Okay.
And I still remember because, that was the first time I sparred with him. I'd been around before that. I watched his camp a little bit when he was doing that, but I was never able to train with him. And then finally he was coming back from the Anderson Silva loss. And, finally they're like, all right, yeah, you go in there and you're next, Matt. You can go spar. I'm like, oh, shit, hell yeah. And in my head, I still remember this. I'm thinking, okay, I know what his weakness is. It's a fucking clinch. Yeah. And I've told Rich about this. We laughed about it. And so I'd go in, and all I'm doing is trying to clinch. And who would have thought, like, Rich actually does know how to clinch. Yeah. I was like, oh, shit. And he beat the fuck out of me. He dropped me like 2 or 3 times with body shots. And so we became friends after that and been friends ever since. And
man, I've been so lucky to share so many cool moments with you throughout your career. And man, speaking of Rich and Cincinnati and all those guys, like there's nothing that comes to mind like when you fought Eric Silva.
Yeah.
That was such a memorable experience for like everybody that's like in our crew. It was, obviously for you too, but one of the coolest moments of those couple of days in Cincinnati was you're like, come on, we're going to eat. And we just walked the streets of Cincinnati like hours before you were about to fight in the main event, live on Fox. I mean, it was like, that at that point, the pinnacle of your career, right? I mean, you were on that win streak, And I just remember walking around Cincinnati and everybody's like, saying what's up to you. And I just thought, man, I was like, dude, it just doesn't get any better than this. Well, fast forward a couple hours later.
It got better.
I mean, it was nuts. Well, so I was in the press section and they kept yelling at me because I'm standing up, I'm cheering for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. You can't show favor. They're like, dude, you're going to have to move if you don't stop. Damon Martin, our buddy's like, hey, dude, just chill out a little bit. And when he kicked you in the liver, like, I was like, oh, fuck. And I've never seen anybody get up and not just show like heart, but literally beat the shit out of somebody like that in a real fight, in a mixed martial arts professional fight in the top league in the world. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was almost like you sunned him. And it was like an unbelievable feeling watching you as they raised your hand, but an equally sick feeling as I watched him lay there 20 minutes after the television broadcast went off the air. Like, literally, I'm standing there with Adam DeSalvado, and I go, dude, he still hasn't moved. I don't know if you noticed that or not. I'm like, did Matt kill him? The only time I ever thought that you may have actually seriously killed somebody afterwards was that fight and Diego Sanchez when we were down in Virginia. I mean, that elbow, do you remember connecting with that?
Not really.
Does it all happen so fast?
Well, what I do remember is I landed it, and I landed it so clean that I didn't realize that it had landed.
Yeah.
And he's like laying at my feet, and I thought he was like going for a low single, like an ankle pick or something. If you watch the fight, you'll see like I kind of hesitated for a second because I was like, Diego's an odd dude, right? So you kind of expect odd things out of him. And I'm like, dude, that's a really odd takedown you're trying there, buddy. It was like, that's a split second thought, right? And then the referee like pushed me off, and I was like, oh, I just completely knocked this dude out.
Annihilated. I mean, all respect to Diego Sanchez, but
honestly, it kind of took a second for it to soak in. And again, if you watch me walk away from that knockout, there was not a lot of excitement or anything because my first thought was, God damn it, they're going to say this was an early stoppage. Because I didn't realize that I landed that hard. And then I watched the replay, a minute later or whatever. I was like, oh, I murdered him.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then the respectful nature of Diego Sanchez, like afterwards, we were in the lobby of the hotel. You and I were standing there, and he came over, and I was like, oh shit, what's about to happen right now? Because you just never know, and he was so respectful. He was so cool. And you just get in those moments, that's when you realize, I've been to martial arts my whole life, and it's like, in those moments, that's the true expression of martial arts. When you come and you shake the other guy's hand and you realize, we just went in there, we just did a battle with each other, and he was,
Well,
so
I think when you do this shit long enough, like from the outside looking in, and I think for most amateurs and a lot of people, they look at it as a fight. I don't think as a martial artist and after having enough experience in it, you don't really look at it as a fight anymore, and it's really just an athletic competition. And,
sure.
And the object to win is just simply to hurt him worse than he hurts you, right? Like, right. Just hit him before he hits you, and like that's the game we're playing. It's sort of like tag, but with like takedowns, obviously.
No, I did sport karate. That's tag. What you're doing is a little bit more aggressive than tag.
Right. I mean, it's more aggressive for sure, but but my point is, it's like I don't view it as a fight. Like I'm not fighting.
Like in your mind, like throughout your career, like when did
pretty like later on for sure. Yeah. Because I think that was a mistake looking at it as a fight. What a fight means is like you were swinging back and forth like a brawl, right? I look at it as an athletic competition where if I'm faster than you, then I'm going to beat you. I just got to beat you to the punch. I got to outsmart you. I got to outwit you. I got to, use my skills and techniques to simply, within the rule set, perform better within the rule set. It's not a fight. Like, we're going to fight. Like, I'm going to bite you.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
scrape your eyes.
Yeah. Like, I'm kicking your dick. You know?
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that soon. Yeah.
Right. But that's a fight.
Yeah.
Like, we're not fighting.
The mindset is everything.
Mm-hmm.
From
also
from the outside looking in.
It takes a lot of the intensity off too. You've known me for a long time, and I fought a lot with especially early on with very high intensity, and try to stare him down, scare him, and all that. And it just evolved. I wouldn't say it changed like at a single time, but it just evolved over time where, I would just look at it more as an athletic competition. And I think part of it was being around the wrestlers. That was a huge thing. I would go down to Ohio State and wrestle with those guys. And, because that's the way they're viewing wrestling. I realize like a lot of those guys don't want to fight more than you would think. And I think it's mainly because of that. Like they don't see what they're doing as a scrap, right? Like they see it as, we're just athletes, just competing.
And what a room that was too, man. Like when you were training
savage,
down there,
yeah.
like, Logan Stever, like Lance Palmer. I mean, all those guys, just absolute killers in that room.
Yeah. I mean, it was a murderer's row, and that's when their Olympic team was, one of the best in the country, right?
Kyle Snyder was there, didn't?
Yeah, Kyle Snyder was there, and Tommy Rollins, Mike Basillo was kind of in and out. Who is a national champion. Keith Gavin, who was a national champion. Nick Heflin, who should have been a national champion. He was an actual killer. I mean, I could name names all day. I mean, it was just a murderer's row.
But what an experience, though.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a great time, and I learned more during that time probably than any other time in my life.
Yeah, I was down at a resort in Orlando a month or two ago, and I ran into Lance Palmer's brother.
Colin?
Yeah, he's a cool guy, man.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. All right, so you mentioned dick kicking, so I can't wait to get into this. So post retirement, you have gone to Thailand a few times, and so what brought you to Thailand outside of just having the experience of going?
Yeah, so the Fight Circus, they bring me over, and we just have a fucking great time, man.
It's called Fight Circus, and in Thailand, in also in other countries, these wild competitions are popping up everywhere. Like, where was it the other day? I was watching Instagram. Somewhere, man, I can't remember where it was, but regardless, if you miss weight in this MMA organization, like if, you and I are fighting and you miss weight, you have to then fight me and my dad. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it made me think of Fight Circus. And so, like, you go over to this, it's like an organization, and, obviously they're having fun. They're doing some crazy stuff. I saw Coleman doing a wheelchair boxing match, which seemed like he was taking it real serious. I felt bad for his opponent. I was like, that is such a Coleman thing to do. But, you were in the middle of this dick kicking contest. You weren't involved, but you were officiating it. Yes. Yeah. And so, I mean, I say officiating it, but are there any real rules in a dick kicking contest?
Yes. Like you cannot swing your leg backwards. You have to start it from the floor.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. And so these are also little guys.
Yeah. I mean, they were like 18, 19-year-old kids, which
no, but
they're probably the only kids you could.
But didn't I see like little guys, though?
Oh, yeah. The second time, we did midget dick kicking.
Yeah. I don't know if we can say that, but yeah, we did.
Little people, whatever.
So, I mean, I just thought it was hilarious. And, what other competitions are involved in the Fight Circus? So we know wheelchair boxing, dick kicking. I mean, what else is involved? Do they actually have like traditional Muay Thai?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So like one of the things that we did, we had a wheel of violence.
Yes.
where you spin the wheel and whatever it lands on, that's what they're doing for that round. And they have like Muay Thai, MMA, I forget what.
And this
else.
is all legit.
Yeah, I mean, it's Thailand, so
okay, all right. There's a little fuckery going on, but
do whatever you want to do,
I got you.
But the main thing is, I'm good friends with the promoter, and sort of his whole thing was, I think a lot of what inspired it was the power slap.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And he said, man, I can do way dumber stuff than that. He said, that's pretty fucking dumb.
Yeah, okay.
I think I can do dumber.
So do they do a version of power slap in this competition?
Dick kicking.
There you go. That's it. So what else is on the wheel of violence? So that's what I want to hear more about.
Foot and tire boxing. So like, you put a tire down and then each person puts one foot in the tire and you have to box each other.
Oh, so you stay in close quarters the whole time? Oh my fucking God. That's amazing. And is this an American guy that came up with all this?
Yeah.
And just moved to Thailand?
He's lived in Thailand for a while, but yeah.
Okay, because I know Dorian was over there forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Not doing Fight Circus.
No, Dorian knows him. His name is John Nutt.
Okay.
Check them out on Instagram, whatever, if you want. But they have like one-handed boxing, like oil wrestling, just all kinds of stuff. Again, is really like the whole thing is like they basically just have a big party, and just make it up as you go along.
That's awesome.
Like some things are planned out, but he literally just everybody just has fun.
Now, who was the guy they had you squaring off against?
Well, I did what was called Moist Show.
Okay.
With Blob Tang, right? So Moist Show.
Blob Tang, that's his name. Blob Tang.
Blob
guys.
Tang.
Yeah. Okay.
So Moist Show is essentially like Muay Thai combined with WWE.
Okay.
So it's real, but we kind of work with each other at the same time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, there's some pain to it. You're just like in WWE, right? They're still getting hurt and stuff, but we're not going full on. We're not trying to knock each other out. We're not like searching, like trying to be tricky and search for the punch or whatever. We're just having fun with it, man, and putting on a great show for everyone.
That's
awesome. Why they call it Moist Show. It's just to put on a show, and me and Blob Tang had a great time doing it, and hopefully, if everything goes well, me and Sanchai are going to do it.
Is that right?
Yeah, we discussed it with them. We hung out with them for the day, and
sick.
Yeah, and it's not a real popular thing in Thailand, but it is around Thailand. You'll see these shows. They'll put them on in like different bars and stuff over there, little clubs, and they'll have guys that like a couple guys I met, like that's all they do. They do Moist Show every night of the week.
And so do they like work into like an arena show, like where it's like they do it at the bars and then it's like a
so that's
it culminates into like a tournament?
That's what John wants to do is bring Moist Show a bit, make it bigger.
Yeah.
Right now it's just like, in the bars and some Thai fighter that hasn't maybe it isn't fighting anymore can make 100 baht or something on a weekend. Just go in and do some Moist Show.
So what else did you do over there?
Man, where do you start? Probably one of the coolest things, we went to Koh Phi Phi, which is the island where they filmed The Beach.
Oh, okay,
which is a very famous, beautiful island. And just everywhere you walk, I mean, the scenery is just out of this fucking
Were you mostly
world,
like
man.
in the south of Thailand?
Yeah, I mean, Bangkok was the farthest north that we went.
Okay.
So we've been to Bangkok, and I just go to all the different gyms there and train with some different trainers, try to learn some different things, and experience, the Thai way of competing.
Now you've been
training.
to like Brazil and so many, different exotic places like that. Did you feel safe in Thailand?
Oh yeah, Thailand's totally safe. Yeah. It's like they call it the land of 1,000 smiles. Just everybody's friendly, everybody's smiling. Like
that's cool, man.
The only thing, like I'm particularly safe because all the people that I know are in good with the cops, and that's the whole game in Thailand. Like if you pay the cops, you do whatever you want. If you don't, then maybe you're not as safe, or you gotta do whatever you gotta do.
It's like so opposite from a lot of countries, like where you feel like if you find the police, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There, if you find the police, depending on how you act, you might not be okay.
So Thailand. So I don't know if we don't really talk politics a lot, but I'm very libertarian and I border on anarchy.
Yeah, sure.
And I always say, like, being in Thailand essentially is anarchy. Like you drive however you want, like you can do whatever the fuck you want.
No speed limits.
I mean, there technically is, but
there's like suggestions.
There's suggestions, yeah. Like no one gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
The only, again, like if you know the cops, or even like you get pulled over for speeding, like you give them 300 baht and go on with your day.
So what is 300 baht in American dollars?
100 baht's $3.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they might be like, oh, you have to give me a 500 baht or 1,000, and you're like, all right, man.
You're just like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. So that's just the way that the things operate over there. And there's essentially 6 families that own the entire country, right? The king and his cronies or whatever,
Is he based in?
He's in Bangkok, yeah.
Bangkok, yeah.
And what you kind of learn being over there is like they just don't give a fuck. Right? They're making their money, and they're like,
yeah.
But we don't care about the people at all. Like, do whatever you want.
Yeah. You might not know this or not, but like, is it kind of like England where there's a royal family, but then there's also like politicians, or no?
I don't know like all the ins and outs of it, to be honest, but like you learn it pretty quickly, and it's pretty obvious.
Because a monarchy's crazy in 2025. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's wild that even exists.
Well, we're in worse than a monarchy now, but the point is they just don't care about the people, which is bad for like the people that are struggling and can't get by. But for those that have a little bit of money, like, it's great because you do whatever you want. They don't care. They're just like there's no fucking 3-letter organizations over there, right? There's no FDA. Like, you buy food off the street.
There's no
like,
fight commission. Like, there's
no
going to the fights.
Commission.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there's no oversight on anything.
That's crazy.
You just do whatever you want. So
I've always heard great things, and that's definitely want to make it over there.
Yeah, and again, being a tourist and an American, like, it's very easy and very fun. I'm sure for a lot of the people there, it's very difficult. So
yeah, sure.
I'm not going to make that argument, but for Americans and tourists, bro, it's the fucking greatest place in the world. You literally do whatever you want.
So on your way here, you didn't get followed by any drones, did you?
Dude, I've had like so many people tell me they've seen drones. You said last night you had a drone over your house.
No, that wasn't so you did not zoom into that?
I did zoom in.
Did you see who was on the drone?
No.
Oh my God, we got to do this picture again.
I zoomed in. I couldn't really.
Let me show you again. You'll be able to see. It's that guy that sits on the side of the bed with the fucking huge dick.
Yeah. Okay. Nice one. All right.
The guy that looks like Bob Sapp. I don't know who that guy is, but like,
I'm about to steal that one.
That is, yeah. That's why I was like, dude, no, zoom in. You're like, oh man, I can't believe it. And I was like, does he understand what I'm saying?
And I did zoom in.
I figured maybe you were driving or something, and you just didn't. You're like, what the fuck is this?
No, I zoomed in. I just didn't. Yeah,
you didn't see the Bob Sapp.
I was looking for a gun,
no, because you did that to me with that guy over COVID at one point. You sent me something. You're like, no, dude, tap that.
Like Floyd Mayweather died.
Yeah, that's what it was. Floyd Mayweather died. I don't know how I got it mixed up with COVID, but yeah, that's what it was. And I clicked on the thing, and there's this guy with the huge dong sitting on the side of the bed. I'm like, motherfucker. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing is kind of crazy, to be honest with you. And as you're watching this podcast, maybe they found out what it is at this point. Who's behind the drones, and maybe they haven't. But we talked about it a little bit on the last podcast, and it is so weird that we live in 2025 almost, and like they can find the guy who shot that health executive in the middle of New York. They found him 4 days later in the middle of Pennsylvania, in the like absolute nowhere. But we have no idea who's flying these drones.
Yeah,
and it seems like there's no big rush to find out. It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah, it's a fucking sketchy world we live in, man.
Like, if you had to guess, have you heard like some conspiracy theories?
No, I haven't heard anything.
I don't even know if this is a conspiracy, but there's a guy that builds drones somewhere in like flyover country, like Kansas or something like that. I just can't remember exactly where he lives. But anyway, he was former military, builds these drones. He's like, someone that also was contracted by the military to build the drones for them, right? And he says that he knew somebody over in, where are they fighting in Russia right now? Somebody help me out. Ukraine. Thank you. So apparently this guy knew somebody in the Ukraine that had, quote unquote, hands on a ballistic missile or a nuclear missile. And so this thing has gotten away and it was headed towards the United States. I don't think it was fired towards us. I just think it was like on its way over here for some reason.
Sounds great.
And this guy predicts that these drones are out there because he says, like, you would never fly drones at night. There's no real advantage to flying a drone at night,
right?
Unless you're looking for something that has gas that's leaking out of it slowly. And so, there's different optics that you can get on these drones where you can see this stuff, right? And so his prediction was that they're looking for a nuclear warhead. I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear. But yeah, I mean, that seems kind of far-fetched.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. Like, we're in a fucking crazy world right now. And there's so many things out there that we don't even know about. You know what I mean? Like, think of like, they were spying on our phones right? And we found out after Edward Snowden, but they were doing that like 10 years before that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
like
we don't even know about Kennedy yet. I mean, like, and hopefully we will here in the next month or
hopefully,
so.
right. But I'm just saying, like in the public, like everything is like 5-10 years behind, where we actually find out the shit that's going on, with the technology behind the scenes, and But that's why, look, like I just don't even really think about this shit, man. I'm huge on focusing on what's inside, man. Like everybody wants to try to fix the world. Everybody talks about what's going on in the world all the time, and I'm like, man, like you ain't even made your own bed, you know what I mean? Right. Like take care of the shit inside your fucking soul, man. Like that's what's gonna help the world get better, for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's our reality is our perception, and that you always see like the people that complain or the conspiracy theorist type people, the people that are haters, the people that liberals, all these motherfuckers are always like, talking about the outside shit, and you can tell like there's some fucked up shit going on inside. You know what I mean?
The inside fix the outside.
Yeah, man. Like the outside will fix itself. You know what I mean? Once you fix the inside, then your perception of the outer world changes just because you fixed what's inside, and that's just what I'm big on, man. And I think that's served me well.
What are you listening to right now? Any new music?
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember.
Anything in particular?
Man, I'm always listening to so much new shit, bro.
Like if you put something on, like what's the first go to? Like even if it's not new. Let's go to your playlist.
Yeah, let's pull up. What's the first thing that pops up? We don't have good service down here, so it may not pull up. Yeah, it's not working. Sleep Token.
Oh, okay.
That's one I've been digging lately.
See, I knew you'd pull a good one out.
Yeah, that's a real good one. God, I'm always listening to so much new stuff. I've been like listening to a lot of calmer music lately, which is kind of rare for me.
Yeah.
But like one of my go-tos has been Government Mule. Like,
that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Go back on that ass a little bit.
Yeah. Because man,
it's a protest song.
I play guitar, man.
Yeah. And I enjoy those videos too. I think it's fun. Like, you know what I mean? Because I think it shows a different side of you. And so when did you start to learn to play the guitar?
I was like a kid when I first started.
Like young.
My mom played guitar for like the church and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like she was teaching me, like the basic chords when I was like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old or whatever. And then I discovered Metallica and Pantera and shit when I was like 13. I was like, oh, my mom will fucking hate this. Let's go. So, yeah, I never really took it like serious though. Lately, I've kind of taken it more serious.
I know the guys from Trivium are friends of yours, Matt Heafy and those guys.
Yeah.
Did he give you a guitar?
2 guitars.
That's sick,
Yeah, he
bro.
gave me his 6-string custom and his 7-string.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
What's
sick.
that like to get that in the mail? You're like, fuck yes.
Well, I got it in person.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
cool.
I was down there in Orlando, and that's where he lives. And he was like, hey, man, I got a gift for you. And gave me the fucking guitar. I was like, what the fuck, bro?
He's still pretty heavy into jiu-jitsu and stuff, right?
Yeah, he's a black belt.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And we rolled when I was down there, so.
Well, I remember it had to be almost 10 years ago at this point. Like when he was at Rock on the Range, they would bring like full mats like on the tour bus and like set them up, and everybody's outside rolling like before the show starts. I mean, it was really cool. Like the other person that was like super intense like that is backstage with Maynard. Yeah, James Keenan, from Tool and Perfect Circle.
Like I did a private lesson with him backstage in Detroit.
Yeah,
and taught him some more Muay Thai stuff. But
so when you're doing that, like and you're working with somebody like that, is a little bit of nerves involved because Maynard, the guy's got to go out and play a show. Yeah, with Maynard there was a little bit because he's older. And his security, who's I'm friends with. He kept saying like, just remember, bro, he's like a 50-year-old rock star. Like you don't fuck him up or anything. Yeah. And I was like, all right, so I was kind of calm and gentle, but I also trained with him. And you're a huge fan too, so at the same time, like there's no ill will, and you just want to show him something cool.
No, yeah, and but once you kind of start getting loosened up and getting into, you're like, dude, let's fucking go. So I have to like hold myself back for sure. But yeah, I trained with him in LA and Santa Monica some. He used to train at a gym out there. We have a mutual friend that's an instructor. But yeah, me and Heafy, we trained in Orlando. He's actually pretty good. Like he knows his stuff really well. He's doing a lot of like leg lock stuff, which is like what I hate.
Does he compete?
So he wants to compete.
Yeah.
He actually asked me what my thoughts were if he'd be risking, injury to his fingers or anything, and I was like, yeah, like bro, like
dude, that's like one of the especially gi and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, which I don't think he would do the gi, but the problem is what I told him is when you get into a competition, like a dude, he's going to be willing to sacrifice anything to win.
Sure,
he don't give a fuck who you are.
Even the weekend warriors.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's a competition. Like if he's going to go balls out. So I told him, I said, your best bet's probably not to even like my fingers have never gotten hurt really in anything.
But you just never know.
You never know, man. And he's got too much on the line, in my opinion.
Where are you at with other competition outside of MMA? Do you think you would ever?
I get offers pretty regular. I just got an offer yesterday to do like a grappling thing, but my problem is I don't know.
Like combat jiu-jitsu, would you ever do that?
So my problem is I don't know if I have the motivation to put everything that it deserves to have into it, in which case I'd be selling myself short. And the problem is like there's just other ways to make money.
Sure.
Like so if I could go back, this is what I always tell like young fighters. Like we all got some screws loose if you're trying to do this MMA or whatever, right? There's no in terms of like a business strategy or a business model, like MMA or most athletic competitions is like it's just not a good business strategy, right? It's not a good business model. There's not a lot of sustainability to it, and the chances of making a lot of money are pretty low. And the amount of time, energy, sacrifice that you put into it, it's not going to be worth it. Now, if it's if you have some screws loose and you just need it, which is most of us, we just need it, and the psychological benefits I think can outweigh the financial benefits if that's what you're looking for. But the fact is, like if you want to make money, like open a fucking business, bro.
Yeah.
Or I mean, you obviously can get a job, work your way up if you want to go that way. But
But I respect that you found peace outside of fighting.
Yeah, well, it's like, bro, put that amount of time and energy that you want to put into competing, put that into a fucking business, bro, and you'll be rich.
Sure.
And I say that looking in retrospect, where like had I at 24 years old started as a cashier at McDonald's, and I put in the time, energy, sacrifice, dedication, skip birthdays, kids' birthdays, skip Christmas, et cetera, as a McDonald's employee, I'd be the fucking CEO right now, making $1 million a year. You know what I mean? But here I am, finding other ways to make money. You know what I mean? So in terms of finances, like that's just the last reason to do it. So circling back, my point is, at this point in my life, with my kids at the ages they are, and in my life where it is, like I'd rather make money than go out there and compete.
Yeah, I love, speaking of your kids, of course, I know your family so well. I love that Connor is competing in wrestling and Hunter is competing in golf. And, two things that I love the most. My favorite time, one of my favorite times when my kids were younger, my older kids, is when Jaden wrestled. I mean, that you came to some of the matches, and I mean, it always meant so much to him, and like it was just awesome. I love the smell of the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning. You're in some basketball court with mats with these little killers that are just ready to go, and these kids just, some of the kids are like frothing at the mouth, some of the kids are ready to cry in the corner. I mean, it's just like one of those beautiful things. Like middle school wrestling is one of the happiest moments as a dad. I mean, high school wrestling, as soon as you get into high school, it changes real quick. You see the club kids versus the kids that, were just hobby wrestlers, and it really does change. The game changes.
Yeah. Yeah,
especially in Ohio.
I always encourage every kid to wrestle, even the kids that come to my gym and do jiu-jitsu. I'm like, there's just nothing that's going to build more character than wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, the struggles that you're going to go through, the hard work, and even like Connor's had a great year. He's only lost one match so far against, the kid was like a state champion. So, but so many of those matches, like he had to dig deep.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like you can't teach a kid to dig deep.
Yeah.
By making them mow the lawn and shit. You know what I mean? Like or like speaking it to them.
Well, and being in front of that many people.
Yeah.
And not just that many people, but your peers.
Yeah.
And I used to always tell my son,
and your fucking friends and family,
right?
Like your family sitting there watching you,
cheering for you. Absolutely.
Like it's the most more. And Connor had a pretty bad year last year, right? It was his first year wrestling. He'd done jiu-jitsu, so he was kind of bigger and wrestling out. There's just nothing that's going to build more character than wrestling. Yeah. The struggles that you're going to go through, the hard work, and even like Connor's had a great year. He's only lost one match so far against, the kid was like a state champion. So, but so many of those matches, like he had to dig deep.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like you can't teach a kid to dig deep by making them mow the lawn and shit. You know what I mean? Like or like speaking it to them.
Well, and being in front of that many people. Yeah. And not just that many people, but your peers.
Yeah.
And I used
your
to
peers and your fucking friends and family.
Right.
Like your family sitting there watching you,
cheering for you. Absolutely.
Like it's the most and Connor had a pretty bad year last year, right? It was his first year wrestling. He'd done jiu-jitsu, so he was kind of bigger and wrestling out. And there was multiple times he walked off the match crying.
Oh yeah.
And I've talked to him in the back because he's crying, and the fact that like he went through that, those hard times, and now he's starting to succeed. Again, like how do you teach your kids that shit?
No, you can't.
Like there's no fucking way.
You can expose them to those opportunities to have those moments. Nobody wants to see their kid cry, but there's many times, sorry, Jaden, like he would come off the mat, didn't get the result that he wanted. And, we'd have we'd have a talk, and it was like one of those talks where you feel like, man, this is what being a dad's about.
Yeah.
This is what being a family is about.
Well, and a lot of us these days, I think we have this struggle where I'm sure you felt this, where we need to. So if I'm gonna like design a human, which is essentially what we're doing when we have kids, right? We're building a human. You're like, okay, I want him to be patient, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna give him shit quickly. I'm gonna make him work for it. I want him to be strong, so I'm not gonna make things easy for him. But in the world we live in, we make good money, like we can give them very easy lives. So there's a struggle in our psyche of like, do I give them everything or do I make everything hard for them? Right? Because the best kids, particularly like the highest performers, like they've had like difficult lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've had some struggles, right?
For sure. Fuck yes.
So like we want to build them into being into these strong, durable, resilient people. But we have the opportunity to not do any of that. And then I think most people could probably relate where, the females in our lives want to spoil them and give them everything. And then we have to go back no, like it needs to be harder for them. And they're like, well, his emotions. And you're like, bitch, just fucking make it hard for him. So anyway, so the point is something like wrestling in particular can put them through those things.
Yeah.
Where now the females can deal with it.
Or anyone, I always say, I used to tell my son all the time, if you say it, you believe it. If I say it, you doubt it.
Yeah.
Until you can say it yourself and now get out there and do the damn thing. It's not real. Yeah. But man, I'm glad you stopped by today. I feel like we've unpacked some things here today, guys. And, I wish you luck. Tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to come by the gym or if they want to be a part of your next project.
Yeah, at I'm the Immortal, Instagram, Twitter, The Immortal Matt Brown on Facebook. Easy enough. I reply to Most DMs, not all, but most.
Well, let's go book a trip to Thailand.
I'm down, bro.
All right, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Yes, sir.
And thanks for you guys for supporting the show. Episode number 5, guys. We're going 2 hands. The next episode will be 6. I'm sure you're able to count. Please subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and most of all, share it with your friends. And do me one favor. Have a great holiday and Happy New Year.